Government and Traditional Affairs.
Honorable Minister.
Our Chairperson, colleagues, ministers and deputy ministers, honorable members, Your Majesties, Royal Highnesses, MECs, Chairperson of the South African Local Government Association and all executive mayors, Chairperson of the National House of Traditional Leaders, Khosi Maubane Kabo, traditional and religious leaders, Chairperson of the Commission for the Promotion and Protection of the Rights of Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Communities, Ms. Mkhwanasi Kaluva, Auditor General Ntate Thembekile Makwetu, President of Contralesa Hoshi Tobejane, the business sector, fellow South Africans, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me, Chairperson of the House, maybe before I even delve into my speech, to start by passing our sincere condolences to the families of those who were the victims of the two tragic accidents, the one that happened in the West Rand in Ramfontein, Krugersdorp, as well as the one that happened on the road from Polokwane, Mulachi. These are the people that we prayed together with on Sunday. Our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the families. It is fitting that we gather here merely days after the anniversary of the first democratic elections held on the 27 April 1994. As we celebrate this milestone, let us salute South African workers for having stood with dignity and marched forward in their noble struggle for workers' rights. We salute Clement Katali, Vuisile Mini, Viola Hashe, Elijah Bahai Ombahi, and hundreds more for their sacrifices and dedication. As we celebrate 55th anniversary of the founding of our glorious army, Umkhonto weSizwe, this year, I'm here to tell you that our fighting spirit remains as steadfast and we continue that fight. Our achievements over the past 22 years pay tribute to your sacrifices and many others. On the 5th of December last year, we marked 15 years of democratic local government. In that time, the number of households increased from 10.8 million to 15.6 million between 2002 and 2014. The local government sphere has matched this with a concomitant escalation in the delivery of basic services. The share of households accessing electricity increased from 69.7% in 2001 to 86% in 2014. 5.8 million households have received electricity, with over 2 million indigent households benefiting from the provision of electricity through indigent support systems. The provision of water infrastructure rose from 61.3% to 90%. The provision of basic water services rose from 7 million citizens in 2007 to over 11 million in 2013. Access to basic sanitation services increased from over 62% in 2002 to over 79% in 2014. Water and sanitation percentages have exceeded the target set by the Millennium Development Goal. What this says is that local government has been successful in changing the lives of our citizens for the better. This good story of excellent government performance runs contrary to a simplistic proposition and blatant lies peddled by modern-day pessimists and opportunists. I welcome our guests from the Community Work Program, Mrs. Ngotkolo Mapolisa, Ms. Geneva Cupido, Mr. Lincoln Williams from the CWP site in Drakenstein, and Ms. Carmen Bennett from Cape Flat site. Thank you for coming and sharing your success stories with us. I like to recount the experience of Ms. Mapolisa. She joined the CWP program in 2012 as a regular participant and was subsequently promoted to be a supervisor in Ward 16 in dormitories. This is in part due to her hard work and commitment. During the day, Mrs. Mapolisa worked in CWP. At night, she studied, and at night she studied at West Coast College an opportunity that was created through a partnership with CWPs. She now has an N6 certificate in human resource management. So while we reel off the numbers, we are failing to see the deeper impact of the CWP, especially in terms of giving the previously unemployed and unskilled life-changing experiences. Deputy Minister Nel will give us more detail on the impact of CWP and plans to expand the program. Distinguished guests, in his State of the Nation address, His Excellency President Zuma announced the implementation of the second phase of Back to Basic program. Assessment of the first phase of Back to Basic confirms that tackling development challenges created by many years of colonization and apartheid systems is a mammoth assignment requiring long-term and sustainable solutions. It's a challenge transcending populist politics driven by a principle of everything for free. We are well aware that there are no overnight successes or easy victories here. Back to Basic is here to create long-term, meaningful change in our communities. The second phase involves the execution of the 10-point plan that we believe will firstly improve the state of local government. In line with our belief that local government should be in the hands of our citizens, one of the key elements of the 10-point plan is fostering more positive experiences. To this end, we are developing ward-based service delivery dashboards and implementing ward improvement plans that will ensure basic services such as cutting of grass, ensuring working street lights, and the timeless fixing of water leaks are attended to. Let me congratulate the Blueberg municipality in Limpopo province and Overstrand municipality in the Western Cape for good practices in the implementation of the ward participatory model to strengthen community participation at a local level. Over the next year, we want to increase public participation platform so that councillors engage more regularly with their constituencies and provide constant feedback on progress made. We aim to ensure the election of more credible ward committees, and will introduce a national induction program for newly elected ward committee members. We also intend institutionalizing community complaints management systems and processes in all municipalities. Our efforts to improve public participation through the Back to Basic program have not gone unnoticed. The Back to Basic program has been selected as an example of open government partnership commitment of mainstreaming citizen participation in the public sector. On the 5th of May, South Africa will be hosting this partnership at a regional level. I urge you to join us as we showcase our country's efforts towards an open government that is more responsive, accountable, and transparent. As a founding member of this partnership, South Africa remains committed to ensuring the dissemination and entrenchment of these partnership commitments. Honorable members, last year we indicated that our Back to Basic program had intervened in distressed municipalities. I'm glad to report that the situation in this municipality is steadily improving. I visited both Mogalakwena and Nelson Mandela Bay in the last month, and it is heartening to note that Nelson Mandela Bay is on the road to good health. Let me take this opportunity to congratulate the newly installed collective of the Mayoral Committee under the capable leadership of Nelson Mandela Bay Executive Mayor, Mr. Tenny Jordan. They took over the municipality a little less than a year ago. In this time, there is no doubt that they have turned the city's fortune around. From being faced with a 400 million budget deficit, the city now sits with almost 20 billion in holdings. Decisive action was taken to clean up the municipality and rebuild community confidence. In this regard, 29 senior managers were fired for corruption. So while some may erect billboards in a futile attempt to denigrate the executive mayor, we, as the ANC, like to put up one that says another successful project by the ANC. The Makana municipality is another example of a back-to-basic story success. Rhodes University was shut down several times due to water stoppages that the municipality experiences. Through the intervention of a municipal infrastructure support agent, the water supply has been reinstated in a sustainable manner. The university is able to operate normally, and water stoppages and disruptions are now a thing of the past. The previously affected communities are provided with normal water supply. In the past year, MISA supported 75 municipalities in the development of new infrastructure, as well as the refurbishment of existing assets to improve the provision of services. MISA was also involved in the training of learners and technical officials in municipality. As a result, technical support for MISA, the Ilundini municipality completed a feasibility study that enabled it to secure funding through the municipal infrastructure grant and donor funding from Netherlands amounting to 296 million for new infrastructure development. Once completed, this project will ultimately benefit 12,176 households in the area. The project also has the potential to create at least 2,000 temporary jobs and 107 permanent jobs. In the forthcoming year, MISA will implement regional management support contracts. This will help to improve infrastructure delivery, management, and operations thereof. Back to basic, House Chair, is not an event, but a process, one that entails a mindset change in the manner that municipalities operate. This change involves COCTA, civil society, and all sectors in all spheres of government driving that change. We look forward to welcoming the cooperation of all sectors, including yourselves. Later this month, we will host the business sector to discuss what role they can play in the Back to Basic program. In exactly 3 months from now, on the 3rd of August, we will be holding South Africa's 4th democratic local government elections. To ensure that preparations are on track, the Interministerial Committee has been collaborating with various stakeholders. Let me reiterate that despite the last voter registration weekend being final, citizens can still register to vote and update their registration details and addresses details at the offices of the IEC countrywide. We have been reluctant to proclaim the election date as we are awaiting an important Constitutional Court decision on the clarification of the issue of the challenge relating to citizens and households without formal addresses. Being committed to ensuring a free and fair election, we have filed our affidavit and awaiting the decision of the Constitutional Court to be delivered on the 9th May 2016. I urge all political parties to abide by the Charter of Election Ethics, to which most parties have signed. The Charter aims to promote social cohesion and nation building, raise awareness on the importance of voting, and promote fair and free election based on tolerance. Let's not be a signatory to the Charter and then call for the removal of the government through the barrel of a gun if the elections results are not to your liking. Honorable members, the past year has seen the continuation of an endemic drought that has not only hurt our economy, but also impacted on the lives of farmers and citizens who have had to bear the cost of rising food prices and water shortages. The IMC on drought has ensured that the government delivers a coordinated response to the drought. The National Disaster Management Center has been at the center of efforts to mitigate the effects of this drought. But also the National Joint Drought Coordination Committee has also established a task team to coordinate civil society involvement. I wish to thank civil society for the important role they are playing in assisting water-stressed communities through provision of water and drilling of boreholes, complementing government effort to address the situation. Speaking of civil society, Operation Hydrate has mobilized various sectors of society, from learners at school to big business. When we say local government is in your hands, this is what we mean. This is what we expect. This is what we are striving for, placing local government in the hands of our citizens. Another of our commitments last year was to reduce municipal debt, and the improvement of payments to ESCOM. As you are aware, late last year, ESCOM initiated a debt collection process that will lead to municipal disconnection on bulk electricity in various provinces. This necessitated an intervention from our side, the Finance Ministry and Public Enterprises. We facilitated the development of new or revised agreements between the affected municipalities and ESCOM, taking into consideration the financial circumstances of individual municipalities and other creditors. While we live in a constitutional democracy, we also reside in a country that recognizes the value that traditional leaders bring to the smooth functioning of this democracy. Over the past year, we have worked with traditional authorities on a number of development-related issues. With the onset of the winter initiation season upon us, let me assure you that our preparations have begun in earnest to ensure that the safety of our young men is taken care of. The Deputy Minister Mapela will shed more light on this subject. We are equally pleased to report that the traditional and the Khoisan leadership bill was introduced in Parliament last year. The bill is intended to affirm and recognize our brothers and sisters, the descendants of the Khoisan leaders, structures, and their community. In keeping with the times, traditional leaders have embraced the mantle of development. There are a multitude of success stories in different provinces that tell of development championed by traditional leaders to improve the lives of their communities. Deputy Minister Mapela will share more information on this achievement. This year also, I must indicate, marked 50th anniversary of the declaration of District 6 as a whites-only area. It marked the beginning of the forced removals over the 60,000 residents from an area noted for its racial diversity at the height of apartheid. Our chairperson, local government prior to the establishment of democracy was a tool of repression. Today, this government has placed local government in the hands of South African citizens. Our chairperson, our 2016 medium-term expenditure framework allocation to the department amount to 72,994 million for the financial year 2017 and 78,557 million for the financial year 2017-2018 and 84,258 million for the financial year 2018-2019. I must indicate, Chair, that if we are to consider all transfers, this will total to 809,587,000. Allow me, House Chairperson, to convey my sincere words of gratitude to the following. My party, the ANC, for continuous guidance and support. The Deputy Minister, Nel and Mapela, for working as a collective. But also the Portfolio Committee of COCTA under the leadership of Honorable Mtakani, and the Select Committee under the leadership of Ntate Mohau for their support and guidance. And COCTA family, guided by the two DGs, Mr. Madonsela and Dr. Nwaila, for working hard. My family, especially my beloved wife, Ntebo, for support and understanding. And lastly, let me thank Almighty and my ancestors for guidance and blessings. Honorable Chairperson, I have the pleasure to submit budget vote for approval. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. And thank you for reminding us that among us here, we have got our traditional leaders. Ngiyanibingelela nina basendlunkulu lenikhona amakhosi omthonyama njengenkosazane ke ngithi namkelekile kule ndlu yesishamthetho. I would now like to recognize Honorable Mdagane, the chair of the committee.
No, namangibingelele inkosazana. The presiding officer, Honorable Minister Des van Rooyen, ministers, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, MECs and mayors who are with us, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me take this opportunity to extend my warm welcome on behalf of the Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to this important budget vote. Honorable Presiding Officer, I rise on this occasion on behalf of the ANC and with the support of the Portfolio Committee to support the budget vote allocation to the department. This year marks the 16 years of democratic local government in South Africa. As we debate this budget vote, we should reflect on the 16 years journey and celebrate its successes. Our community also have an opportunity to reflect on the road we have traveled towards creating a better life for all through the provision of basic services over the years. As we celebrate the 16 years of democratic local government, we must mobilize our communities behind the National Development Plan as our collective response to the challenges faced by our people. We are debating this budget vote when the country is currently experiencing one of the worst droughts in 100 years. Many of our municipalities will experience challenges in provision of water to our communities. As the committee, we welcome the various forms of intervention by government in assisting both farmers and communities. The world is experiencing slow economic growth. This has serious impact on the ability of our municipalities to address the triple challenges of poverty, unemployment, and equality. Despite these challenges, the majority of our people continue to have confidence in the ANC to lead this country and to lead the society. They do so because the ANC, together with our community, have established a strong, accountable, transparent, and resilient system of local government. They will continue to do so on the 3rd of August, 2016, because we have a track record of service delivery. The ANC government has done well in expanding basic services to our people. We have an undisputed record of service delivery despite criticism. We have electrified 86% of households in urban, peri-urban, and rural areas. This amounted to 5.8 million households. Only the ANC, no other party, will ever have that capacity to do so. Only the ANC. Despite the challenges of the current drought, 90% of households have access to pipe water. Prior to 1994, only 20. We witnessed this during our joint oversight visit in KwaZulu-Natal in September 2015 in the district of Umgungundlovu. We visited the Greater Eastern Regional Water Project. This project provides 41,200 rural communities with potable water. Potable water. Not just water, potable water. This is just one example of how we have made progress in increasing the number of households with access to water infrastructure. The ANC government has increased access to basic sanitation services from 62.3% to 79.5%. We have thus ensured that many of our people live a dignified life. Presiding officer, the government has made strides in providing shelter to millions of our people. Today, we have provided more than 12.5 million South Africans with a house. Between 2004 and 2014, the expanded public works program created over 5 million work opportunities for poor and unemployed people. This program has elevated the social and economic living conditions of many struggling families. We will continue to improve access to basic services because we have a clear plan. Only the ANC that has a clear plan. Others, they copy the plans of the ANC. Despite our delivery record, our municipalities still continue to experience challenges. Some of the key challenges include inter alia, migration into urban centers, especially in Gauteng, institutional capacity, maintenance of aging infrastructure, and poverty. The viability of some of the municipalities is a key concern of the members of the Portfolio Committee. This is why we'll continue to support the amalgamation of those municipalities that we think are not financially viable. I want to take this opportunity to thank the Municipal Demarcation Board for the sterling work they have done in this regard. We have now substantially reduced the number of local municipalities from 278 to 257. I know others are challenging this in court. The low rate of collection of revenue continues to undermine the ability of municipality to deliver basic services to our communities and also to pay ESCOM and water boards. Presiding officer, I'm mentioning these challenges still confronting our municipality because as the ANC, we have a clear plan. We know what we're supposed to do because we are always with our people. We are always rooted within our people. We launched Back to Basic in 2014. Today, as clearly reflected in this budget vote, the department relook at its role and structure, reconfigure itself to be able to deliver the second phase of the program. We welcome, as a portfolio committee, a new program, Honorable Minister. As a committee, we have accepted a Back to Basic program. We dedicated 2015 oversight visit on the implementation of the program. The committee was very much satisfied with progress made in the district of Ruth Mupati, Dr. Kenneth Kaunda, Amajuba, Umzinyati, Umgungundlovu district, just to mention a few. Of concern to the committee, Honorable Minister, was the vandalized waste pipe purification plant in Likwa, Latayamane local municipality in the Northwest Province. The committee welcomes your willingness, Honorable Minister, and that of your deputies to account to the committee, because you understand that accounting to Parliament is not a privilege, but all of us, we are compelled to do so. We are very pleased that the minister is always available when he's invited to come and give information to the committee and account robustly to the committee. As a committee, we will be calling MECs of local government and municipality to account before the committee, especially on the appointment of competent staff and on the implementation of the recommendation of forensic reports after the election. Presiding officer, we have started this already in the past by calling Matibeng and Makalakwena municipality to account before the committee. We are going to continue. We are going to have and play the very vibrant, detailed oversight visit to all projects that are under the Department of Cooperative, because the committee is interested to ensure that department accounts and account properly to the committee. As a committee, we welcome 10-point plan, which will now take us into the second phase of the implementation of the program. We are satisfied that the 10-point plan addresses challenges that we have observed in our work in municipality. Today, Back to Basic program does not belong only to specific unit in a department, nor to Cooperative, but it is a collective responsibility for which we are all responsible and accountable for. As the ANC, we will ensure that we tackle the challenges that are still visible in local government through the 10-point plan, which is as follows. One is to ensure that there is a positive community experience. Prioritize municipality receiving disclaimer over the 5 years, support revenue and enhancement programs, appointment of senior managers with appropriate and requisite skills in municipalities, quality service and maintenance of infrastructure, implementation of forensic report.
Chairperson, your time is up.
Thank you very much, Honorable Presiding Officer. The ANC support the budget allocation to the department.
Thank you. Honorable KJ Milam.
Chairperson, we've heard a lot about back to basics over the last few years, and this was meant to be Minister Gordon's legacy to South Africa, a return to the principles on which local government was founded, namely putting the people and their concerns first, supporting the delivery of municipal services to the right quality and standards, promoting good governance and transparency and accountability, ensuring sound financial management and accounting, and building institutional resilience and administrative capability. But sadly, we have seen little evidence of this program achieving any of its intended outcomes. And now that Minister Gordon has left to be replaced by a man described by his own colleagues as lightweight, the Back to Basics program, much like Operation Clean Audit, the local government turnaround strategy, and Project Consolidate, is languishing in the doldrums. Now, the Minister and the ANC like to, quote, claim no easy victories, and I'd like to say that maybe they should take their own advice. Some examples. The Minister spoke about Andries Tatane, and yet Mr. Tatane's death appears to have been in vain because nothing has changed in Vicksburg since 2011. The Minister claimed that Nelson Mandela Bay was on the road to good health. But in answer to parliamentary questions, he admitted that there are 1,724 vacancies in that municipality. He admitted that 0 title deeds were handed over in that municipality. He admitted that that municipality has the highest number of bucket toilets in the whole of South Africa. This is all hardly surprising given the minister's pedigree as the failed mayor of Merafong and his utterly delusional one-day holiday to Dubai. But we have a veritable rogues gallery of incompetent and corruption-charged ANC municipal councillors and officials who now sit amongst us as members of parliament. And here I include, starting with the minister himself, Honourable Des van Rooyen, the ex-mayor of Merafong, Honourable Amos Masondo, the ex-mayor of Johannesburg, Honourable Nomaindio Mfaketo, the ex-mayor of Cape Town, Honourable Zukiswa Faku and Honourable Zukiswa Nita, both ex-mayors of Buffalo City, and both of whom have been criminally charged for looting the public purse. Honourable Phil Mapulane, the former municipal manager of Madibeng, Honourable Mervyn Dirks, ex-deputy mayor of Msunduzi, and Honourable Zoleka Kapa, ex-mayor of OR Tambo District Municipality. I use the term honourable for formality's sake only, as these members certainly don't deserve it. Now, with this level of incompetence promoted to the ANC's benches in Parliament, one has to wonder who or what is left in the municipalities. And then one is left in absolutely no doubt as to the cause of the ANC's failure to govern effectively. But don't take my word for it. Good Governance Africa rates 9 of the top 10 municipalities in South Africa as being DA-led, and every single one of the bottom 20 as being governed by the ANC. Or maybe we should look at the financial management of municipalities. The municipalities of the Western Cape, according to Ratings Africa's Municipal Financial Stability Index, scored higher than any other province. And the city of Cape Town scored highest of all the metros, with a score of 75 out of 100. Now compare that with the ANC-governed cities of Johannesburg and Tshwane, which scored 37 and 24 out of 100 respectively, despite being the wealthiest metros in South Africa. Or how about the fact that every single municipality in the Western Cape received an unqualified audit report, and no less than 17 received the highest accolade of clean audits? This is because where the DA governs, we govern better. And we are obsessive about clean, efficient, and effective financial management. Given the levels of corruption and state capture in ANC local governments, a practice they appear to have learned from the ANC leaders who sit in this room and from the president himself, it is no surprise that 92 municipalities are technically insolvent, according to recent reports. Of particular concern is the fact that local government in the current financial year controls expenditure in excess of 373 billion rand. That's 373 billion rand available for those cadres and comrades to loot freely. And where gross excesses are pointed out, like as Honourable Ndakane rightly said, Madibeng and Mogalakwena to name but two, the national and provincial governments are reluctant to intervene because of fear that it will embarrass the ANC. It is a sad indictment on this portfolio committee that its oversight of the very coalface of service delivery is meek and timid. This committee should be aggressively interrogating municipalities, provincial governments, and traditional leadership structures to ensure that competent personnel are appointed, misconduct is investigated, and remedial or disciplinary action is taken, that finances are properly managed, and that service delivery is prioritized. This is not happening. And instead, despite repeated requests from the DA, we spend our time dealing largely with irrelevancies. The DA manifesto for the 2016 local government elections sets out examples of good governance from the municipalities we currently govern, like the fact that the DA-run municipality of Midvaal has the lowest unemployment rate in Gauteng at 12%, which is some 12% lower than the national average and 14% lower than the provincial average. Or the innovative campaign to combat water losses in the Drakensberg municipality, which saw annual water losses drop from 34.8% to 12.1%, thereby saving both money and water. And in every single metric, the DA-governed Western Cape municipalities outperform the national average by a significant measure. This includes, Honourable Minister, access to piped water, where in the Western Cape 98.9% of households have access against a national average of 90%, and access to sanitation, where in the Western Cape it runs to 94.6% against the national average of 79.5%. In fact, were it not for the DA's performance in the Western Cape with regard to access to sanitation and refuse removal, where it surpasses the national average by 15% and 25% respectively, the national picture would look a hell of a lot worse. What baseline? Your own baseline, Stats SA. Our manifesto sets out 6 broad themes for how the DA will deliver a better quality of life to the citizens of South Africa's municipalities, namely creating jobs and opportunities, making local government more responsive, providing better service delivery, stopping corruption, providing meaningful redress, and making communities safer. And we've already shown that we can deliver. These themes are backed by tangible programs and implementation steps that will enable DA-governed municipalities to continue our progress in uplifting all South Africans. In towns and cities across South Africa, only the DA can bring the change that South Africa so desperately needs. Change that will stop corruption, create jobs, and deliver better services. Because only a DA government based on the principles of freedom, fairness, and opportunity for all can move South Africa forward again. 8.3 million jobless South Africans are in desperate need of a government that will grow the economy and provide real service delivery. Real change is coming. A tidal wave of blue is flooding the country, and come the 3rd of August, people across our nation will say no to corruption, no to Nkandla, and no to a disregard of the Constitution.
Your time is up.
On the 3rd of August, real change will wash across South Africa when the people raise their voice and vote DA.
Honourable Masoko.
Chairperson, the structural flaws and lack of capacity in government, especially in local government, means that the people do not have water, sanitation, housing, electricity, primary health care, and other services. More than 22 years into democracy, it is obvious that municipalities, especially those in the townships and rural areas, are not capable to deliver basic services, let alone capacity to address structural and spatial inequalities. Instead, the majority of municipalities can only carry and reproduce the legacies of the past. Municipalities like City of Cape Town, City of Johannesburg, Stellenbosch, George, Tshwane municipality continue to prioritize predominantly white suburbs. People in Cape Town, Sandton, Parktown, Centurion, Bedfordview, Meyersdal have water, electricity, nice indoor toilets, proper schools, clinics, and other services. Now they are fighting for bicycle lanes. While 98.8% of residents in the predominantly white top-ranked municipalities have access to water, only 15% of predominantly black lowest-ranked municipalities has access to water. The other 85 must drink unclean, river water with animals. It's a shame. While our people in Diepsloot, Alexander, Soweto, and the city of Johannesburg, Soshanguve, Atteridgeville, Mamelodi, and the city of Tshwane, Seshego and Polokwane are still waiting for basic services like water. Shame, ANC. Umzimvubu municipalities in the Eastern Cape allows people to use bushes to relieve themselves. Shame. Chairperson, with the current funding model of municipalities, it will remain important to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor municipalities. What makes the situation even more depressing is that municipalities are now too dependent on grants. And those in control of grants, ANC members, those who are in control of grants allocation, uses them to pursue their narrow political agendas. Rural and poor municipalities are not able to generate and raise their own revenue due to high levels of unemployment, poverty, lack of economic activities in their localities. Councillors get appointed and immediately neglected the communities that elected them. And currently, all political parties that have councillors don't have oversight mechanism. Chairperson, the EFF is the only political party that has a plan that represents a decisive breakaway from unaccountable and unresponsive municipalities and councillors. We are not making promises. We are not in the business of making promises. What we are doing is committing ourselves. The EFF is our last hope for job for residents of the municipality. The EFF is our last hope for 100% of electrification of every household in the municipality. The EFF is our last hope for proper sewer and sanitation for residents of the municipality. Chairperson, the EFF is our last hope for programs for local economic development. The EFF is our last hope for fresh food markets and fruit stalls for
Order,
locally produced
honourable
food.
member,
and
your
other-
time is up.
We do not support
Honourable
Gupta
Hlengwa.
budget
Honourable
and don't
Machoko.
trust Gupta puppet that end up as a minister of Gupta after failed to capture treasury.
Honourable Hlengwa.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson Mafungwase Wagwetu. I heard that the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee saying that the ANC is the only party with the plan. I just want to remind the chair that there is widespread agreement that the Back to Basics program is nothing but a carbon copy of the IFP's 2011 manifesto. And so it's good that you are doing progressive reading. I also want to point out to the detractors out there who are hell-bent on the refrain that the IFP is not growing. From 2011, when we had two municipalities, which was Lundi and Umsinga, we've, in the current term, recaptured Ntambanana from the ANC, Hlabisa, Nkandla, Big Five, and Mtonjani. Did I mention Nkandla? I think I did. So local government has been South Africa's bane of service delivery and a breeding ground of corruption. This must change as we fully rely on municipalities to be the wheels of service delivery, and every effort must be made to ensure that public money is spent towards the benefit of the poor, of the people, especially the poor, who find life to be a virtual and daily struggle. I've said before, and I maintain, that strong nations are built on the ability to fulfill promises, and therefore responsiveness to the needs of the public must take center stage. The reality is when communities begin to feel that they are not getting proper services from government and feel that promises and their needs, hopes, and aspirations are not being met, often violent protests become the order of the day, as we have experienced. And if things don't change for the better, we shall continue to experience such. This budget comes 91 days before South Africa heads to the polls for the 2016 local government elections, and therefore today is an opportune moment to reflect on the progress that has been made in the 2011-2016 municipal term of office. Whilst many on this side of the house are obsessed with the tired and empty refrain of a good story to tell, the reality is that 22 years into our freedom and democracy, many South Africans continue to struggle daily and most certainly do not have a good story to tell. They need jobs, houses, electricity, water, and not poor service delivery, and are simply fed up with the refrain of empty and unkept promises. Niqhuba ngo-reverse. The refrain I've referred to above belongs to the people whose personal circumstances are good, whilst at the same time it is very contrary to the realities on the ground of millions of South Africans struggling to make ends meet. Your refrain of a good story to tell, or the so-called Ukuba, underscores a mentality of an island of success in a sea of poverty and corruption. Traditional leadership and institutions of traditional governance remain at the periphery of the process of restructuring South Africa's governance model. There is no doubt in history that there have been long strings of broken promises that precedes the current and unhappy state of cooperation. The first being made 16 years ago, that in verbally and in writing, that chapters 7 and 12 of the Constitution would be amended to prevent the obliteration of the powers and functions of traditional leaders. The bill before the Committee on Traditional Leadership and Cohesion is presented by the department is another piecemeal exercise which will not serve the purpose. Maybe in sitting down, Honorable Chair, I think the standoff between the EFF and the ANC, which threatens these elections and this country with violence, must be condemned in the strongest possible terms. We cannot and must not allow a situation whereby your fighting threatens the people of South Africa with violence. Sit down and
Honourable
discuss
Member,
your issues
the time is
properly
up.
and do not derail
Order.
the elections with violence.
Order,
We do not
Honourable
want to go
Sengwa.
back there. So
Your time
you
is
two
up.
sit down and talk and end these problems. I thank you, Chair.
Honorable Kubisa.
House Chairperson, honorable members, honorable ministers, deputy ministers, the key policy priority for the Department of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs is to continue the implementation of the Back to Basics program. We welcome this program and believe that it would enhance service delivery if it is implemented correctly. Chairperson, the NFP views service delivery as a basic human right, and it is the responsibility of local government to ensure that this right is realized. However, lack of skills in municipalities is a huge contributing factor to failed service delivery across the country. Add to this the lack of well-considered oversight of and by councillors, corruption, nepotism, favoritism, and it becomes apparent that our people are being done a grave injustice by municipalities failing to deliver basic services. This failure to deliver basic services is fueling service delivery protests daily across the country, and is a strong signal to government of the growing dissatisfaction of the electorate. We only have to look at recent protests from Mlazi, Zandspruit, Folweni, Makweng, Kuruman, Tubatuba, Mandeni, and many other places. Kodwa kaze sibone eZululand District Municipality la siphethe khona kuToyizo asibonanga kwanongoma ngoba siyabanika izinsiza abantu siyasebenza asibonanga eDumbe kuloku kusetshenzwe nje honorable Hlengwa kuyaqhutsheka kuya phambili awukho reverse. Ngikhuluma nje eZululand sithole iclean audit ibhalwe phansi kayifuniselo. Failure to deliver services, however, not only the driver to unrest at local government level, the ill-considered politicization of demarcating local municipalities and boundaries has caused continuous unrest in many places. Chairperson, when we look at the distribution of the department's budget, we get the distinct impression ukuthi abaholi bomdaba banakwa neqhaza labo futhi alinakwa. Kungana ukushiwa ngabaholi bomdaba. Sithi ke thina abaholi bomdabu kufanele bakhelwe ama-administrative centers okuyiwona wona abukekayo namaholo abaqhubeka enyuswe babe nazo zonke insiza abayidingayo nabasebenza khona bethola insiza abayidingayo. I-local government futhi fanele benomsebenzi okudala amathuba entsheni. Asiboni uhulumeni eqhubeka i-create environment conducive ukuthi abesifazane nentsha bathola amathuba. Moreover, the NFP knows the large scale of failure of inadequate drought relief in many of our rural communities. Thousands of people have no safe drinking water for their animals or for domestic use. Their cattle are dying and their crops are failing. Rather than rallying to the plight of our suffering rural communities, we find the AG's report which shows fruitless expenditure and corruption where councillors and department administrators and they are taking from the cookie
Honourable
jar, their hands
Minister.
in the cookie jar. Having said that, Chair, the NFP would support this budget.
Thank you very much. Let's now call the the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, responsible for provincial and local affairs, Honorable Nel.
Chairperson, honourable members, I associate myself with the protocol observed by Minister van Rooyen. Today is World Press Freedom Day. South Africa is ranked 39 out of 180 countries for press freedom, ahead of the United States at 41 and France at 45. We treasure and we defend the freedoms guaranteed by the Constitution that we adopted 20 years ago on the 8th of May in this chamber. Members of the media, please feel free to report on this debate fully and freely. It's important because local government is government that is closest to the people. Local government is in our hands. We must make it work. We are making it work. We are getting back to basics. On the 25th of May, we celebrate Africa Day. On this day, we sing loudly the words of the African Union anthem. O sons and daughters of Africa, flesh of the sun, flesh of the sky, let us make Africa the tree of life. Chairperson, African cities are important roots that feed this African tree of life. Their economies, their culture, their creativity represent some of the fruits of this tree. As President Nelson Mandela said when South Africa was readmitted to the Organization of African Unity in 1994, all human civilization rests on foundations such as the ruins of this African city of Carthage. These architectural remains all speak of Africa's contribution to the formation of the condition of civilization, close quote. The world is urbanizing very rapidly. According to the United Nations, 54% of the world's population lives in urban areas. By 2050, this will increase to 66%. In 1950, only 3 out of 10 people lived in urban areas. Continuing population growth and urbanization will add 2.5 billion people to the world's urban population by 2050. 90% of this increase will be in Asia and Africa. In fact, according to the UN, Africa is expected to be the fastest urbanizing region between 2020 and 2050. By 2050, most of the world's urban population will be concentrated in Asia with 52% and Africa with 21%. 63% of South Africans already live in urban areas. This will rise to 71% by 2030, and by 2050, 8 out of 10 South Africans will be living in an urban area. We need to guide the growth and management of urban areas in ways that unleash the potential of our cities and towns and reverse the terrible legacy of apartheid spatial injustice. Last year, we said we would finalize an integrated urban development framework. To do so, we have done so. Cabinet approved the IUDF last week, very appropriately on the day before Freedom Day. The IUDF marks a new deal for South Africa's cities and towns. It will steer urban growth towards a sustainable model of compact, connected, and coordinated towns and cities. The IUDF provides a roadmap to implement the NDP's vision for spatial transformation, creating livable, inclusive, and resilient towns and cities while reversing the apartheid spatial legacy. The IUDF provides key principles and policy levers for creating better urban spaces. We will strengthen rural-urban linkages, promote urban resilience, create safe urban spaces, and ensure that the needs of the most vulnerable groups are addressed. The framework recognizes that the country has different types of cities and towns with different roles and requirements. The IUDF must be implemented in locally relevant ways that also promote sustainable rural development and strengthen rural-urban linkages. The framework proposes that jobs, housing, and transport should be used to promote urban restructuring as outlined in the NDP. The objective is to transform urban spaces by reducing travel costs and distances, preventing further development of housing in marginal places, increasing urban densities to reduce sprawl, improving public transport and the coordination between transport modes, and shifting jobs and investment towards dense peripheral townships. Achieving this vision of spatial transformation will require all spheres of government, the private sector, labor, civil society, and most importantly, the citizens of our municipalities. We thank the Deputy Ministers in the IUDF Political Oversight Committee for their guidance, wisdom, and hard work. We thank our partners, the SA Cities Network and South African Local Government Association, as well as our international partners, GIZ and the EU. We thank Dr. Edgar Pieterse and the IUDF panel of experts. We pay tribute to then Deputy Minister Yunus Karim, who took the first steps on this long journey, and a special word of thanks to Dr. Mujaji Malahlela and her dedicated team in the department. We repeat the point that we made last year: our success or failure in effecting spatial transformation and implementing integrated urban development will have a decisive influence on whether we become a nation united in our diversity or a group of people living together separately. Chairperson, the Community Work Programme is an important intervention to deal with poverty, unemployment, and inequality. The International Labour Organization recognizes it as one of the best in the world. We welcome the CWP participants in the gallery. We are proud of you. CWP will receive close to 3.2 billion rand for the 2016-17 financial year. 95% of this goes to implementation. Only 5% is spent on administration by the department. Out of this money, 70% or 2.1 billion rand will go into the pockets and on the tables of participants. This is 446 million rand more than last year. CWP participants contribute by doing useful work identified by the community. For example, in Gauteng, CWP participants cleaned almost 300,000 square meters of public spaces. 1,051 illegal dumping sites were cleaned. 2,076 community gardens were maintained. We're working with other departments, civil society, and business to increase the reach and the impact of CWP. CWP aims to provide participants with skills, both to do useful work in communities, but also to enhance their employability and ability to start their own ventures. For example, in KwaZulu-Natal at Ukahlamba, a participant used his stipend to take a course in security studies and is now registering his own security company. Last year, we said we would expand the CWP, and we've done so. By the end of the 2015-16 financial year, 223,000 participants had benefited from the program. We can announce that an additional 21,000 participants and their families will benefit from the program by the 31st of March 2017. In Gauteng, Limpopo, and Mpumalanga, all provinces had a CWP site by the end of the financial year 2015-16. We can also announce that all the municipalities in KwaZulu-Natal, Free State, Northwest, Eastern Cape, and Northern Cape will have at least one CWP site established this year. In the Western Cape, 8 additional municipalities will have sites by the end of the financial year. A total of 36 additional municipalities will have CWP sites established by March 2017, bringing the total number of municipalities implementing CWP to 234. Chairperson, theft and damage to infrastructure, especially metal and copper cable theft, devastate our economy and the lives of our citizens. Municipalities are particularly hard hit. Last year, we said we would introduce tougher legislation. We've done so. The Criminal Matters Amendment Act now provides for tougher bail conditions, jail terms of up to 30 years, and fines of up to R1 million on conviction for these offences. We can report that soon after the Act became law, 5 members of a cable theft syndicate received heavy sentences of between 15 and 48 years. Collectively, they were sentenced to 140 years. Chairperson, we commend Ms. Jane Tupana, the chairperson, and the members of the Municipal Demarcation Board for their excellent work under difficult conditions and tight deadlines. Last year, we said the MDB would meet its deadlines. It has done so. Their efforts have allowed the IEC to finalize voting districts for local government elections on the 3rd of August. The MDB will be hosting a conference at the end of June to plan for the future based on lessons learned from past demarcation exercises. It will examine the role of demarcation in spatial transformation, improving public participation and consultation in demarcation, as well as the role of wards in integrated planning, matters fundamental to the NDP and back to basics. This might lead to proposals for legislative and policy reform, including the controversial issue of the frequency with which municipalities and wards are re-demarcated. Chairperson, we commend Mayor Parks Tau, the chairperson, Mr. Sithole Mbanga, the CEO, and the leadership of the South African Cities Network. Our work continues to be enriched by the well-researched and thoughtful papers and reports produced by the Cities Network. We look forward to the release of their 2016 State of the Cities report and their continued involvement in implementing the IUDF. Chairperson, we commend Mayor Thabo Manyoni, the chairperson, and the leadership of SALGA, which continues to discharge its constitutional mandate of representing organized local government and being at the forefront of implementing the Back to Basics program. We commend Mr. Xolile George, the CEO, for the 4th successive clean audit achieved by SALGA. The department is working with SALGA to ensure a smooth transition after local government elections by preparing a comprehensive councillor training program and updating the councillor induction manual to focus on the Back to Basics program. Our municipalities and councillors must be ready to hit the ground working and delivering after elections. Local government is indeed in our hands. Chairperson, in conclusion, my thanks to Minister van Rooyen and Deputy Minister Bapela for their collegiality and comradeship, to Directors General Vusi Madonsela and Charles Nwaila, the officials of the Departments of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, and the Ministry for their dedication and support. Our thanks to the chairpersons and the members of the portfolio and the select committees, and last but not least, my appreciation to the ward councillor of my home and the mayor of my heart, my wife, Kim Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we now call Honorable Anne Mutembu?
Slalo, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Ministers, Honorable members, fellow South Africans, ngiyanibingelela. Slalo, ANC, yona yodwa nhlangano ephethe usomqulu i-Freedom Charter. Okuyiwona mqulu oyisisekelo somthetho sisekelo phecelezi i-Constitution. Le labanye sebecabanga ukuthi bayazi ngcono kunokhongolosi. I-Commission ye Linguistic Rights, i-Commission ye Cultural, Religious and Linguistic Rights, nayo isekelo kuwo lona somqulu oyi-Freedom Charter. Yona futhi le Constitution nayo futhi eyisisekelo sayo ngoba le commission yakhelwe phezu kwayo le Constitution. I-Constitution ye Republic of South Africa ikhona ukuqinisa le commission ngoba nayo le commission umsebenzi wayo ukuthi strengthenishe the constitutional democracy in the country, and its mandate is to assist communities in promoting and protecting their cultures, religion, languages, and covering their diminished heritage. Freedom Charter is not merely a historical document. As the former President Thabo Mbeki, I open quote, it remains still an important guide about the direction in which we should all take our country as a consequence of its reconstruction and development, close quote. Yona le Freedom Charter ebuye ibe isisekelo somsebenzi nomhlahlandlela weCommission njengoba nje lo somqulu uthembisa ukuthi bonke bayothokozela amalungelo alinganayo kanti futhi kuyoba khona ukuthula nobungani. All shall enjoy equal human rights and there shall be peace and friendship. Not njengoba laba abanye sebe threatenisha civil war bethi bazothatha umbuso ngebarrel of a gun when our Freedom Charter has promised ukuthi there shall be peace and friendship. Fellow South Africans, it will be important for me to mention that the ANC strategy and tactics explains clearly the main content of the National Democratic Revolution and therefore remains the liberation of Africans, in particular blacks in general, from political and socio-economic bondage. It means uplifting the quality of life of all South Africans, especially the poor, the majority of whom are Africans and female. Our democratic political system is founded on political, socio-economic, and other human rights which are enshrined in the country's constitution. The realization of these rights is actual a practice requires amongst others. The mobilization of the nation around a common vision, not only a vision, but a brilliant plan that is National Development Plan. The means for citizens to exercise the full range of the human rights, the popular participation of the people in the process of development and with special focus on the poor and marginalized, building a united and inclusive South African nation in which the multiple identities based on class, gender, age, language, geographic location, and religious are a source of strength, adding to the diversity of the continent and humanity at large. Chairperson, South Africa as a country is characterized by a diverse cultural religions and languages. However, the inherited challenges from the past is that some cultures are still frowned upon or questioned. On the basis of the above, all CRL Rights Commission's engagements and activities are aimed at promoting social cohesion, coexistence, and national unity. It is indeed in these bases that the Commission promotes and develops peace, friendship, humanity, tolerance, national unity among and within cultural, religious, and linguistic communities on the basis of equality, non-discrimination, and free association. The Commission does also assist in addressing the problems faced by cultural and religious communities, for an example, as it has summoned churches and its leaders to appear before it in order for the church leaders to give clarity to some issues regarding the commercialization and all negative practices that seek to dehumanize people, like making them eat snakes, drink petrol, or eat grass. With particular reference to the protection of the spiritual significance of graves to communities, the CRL Rights Commission received complaints from communities in Lipalale, Limpopo about the destruction of ancestral graves during the construction of Midupi Power Station by ESCOM.
Thank you.
The
Your time
ANC
is up.
supports the budget.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Can we now call Honorable N.C. Majega?
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. The institution of traditional leadership represents any form of societal organization. It embodies the preservation of customs, culture, value, and tradition. It promotes communal and collective approach to development, entrenches high morality levels, and puts familyhood at the center of development. With the rise of poverty and unemployment, exposing young people to drugs and violence that's ending up in jails, this historic role of this institution needs to be called to action. The role of these leaders cannot be denied. Working with traditional leaders, youth and communities in general should be able to direct resources and energies towards developmental programs that will create employment. Chairperson, Local government must put community first. The current system of ward committees has failed. They've been reduced to an extension of the ruling party at the expense of the larger section of the community. We suggest that as part of putting community first, we consider introducing sustainable development councils, which are representatives of the community, including councillors, key stakeholders of departments, traditional leaders, non-governmental organizations, religious groups, as well as youth, women, and people with disabilities. Billing in many municipalities continue to be in a state of chaos. Many residents may not even be aware that they are being billed incorrectly. In many municipalities, the potholes outnumber the street lamps. Yes. And often people are charged for services they do not receive. It is only right that you pay for the services you actually receive. We need to formulate a clear strategy for the equitable allocation of funds to rural areas to be spent on, amongst others, access roads, dipping tanks, fencing of grazing lands and crop fields, clearing of streams, dams, and rivers of invasive alien vegetation, combating soil erosion, as well as adequate sanitation. Chairperson, taps zifakiwe in many areas. I will cite Umhlonhlo Municipality, Ward 17 and Ward 18, where taps have been put as early as 2005. But you find that up to date, amanzi akaphumi. If I apuma, maybe 1 or 2 days, 1 or 2 or 3 days in a month, or maybe 3 months. Also, another concern of the traditional leadership is the community properties associations. They see this as a way of installing another traditional leader in the same area of jurisdiction, as well as the spatial planning and land use of communal tenure policy. This also is seen as a way of undermining traditional leaders. So this should be looked into very closely, not to create any further tensions amongst the communities. With these comments, the United Democratic Movement supports the budget. I thank you.
Thank you very much. A group no akbare led Pierre Groenewald.
Achtbare voorzitter. Dit is 'n feit dat in Suid-Afrika meer as 80% van alle munisipaliteite deur die ANC regeer word. En dan kom die achtbare minister en hy kom praat van back to basics. Die Afrikaans is terug na die basiese. Dit wat gedoen moet word om 'n sukses te maak van plaaslike regering. But now, Chairperson, I want to say to the Honourable Minister, back to basics doesn't mean that you must merge different municipalities like Clockwe and Ventersdorp to manipulate the results of an election. That's not back to basics. Dit beteken, u vrees die komende munisipale verkiesings. Terug na die basiese beteken dat jy bevoegde amptenare aanstel in poste wat kan dienste lewer. Die ANC doen dit nie. En die achtbare minister weet dit, want hy was mos nou die burgemeester gewees van Merafong. En hy's een van die mense wat nie bevoegde mense in strategiese poste aangestel het nie. Daar is ongeveer net 40 na 47% van munisipaliteite wat geen ingenieur het nie. Geen ingenieur nie. Dan word daar vrae gevra, hoekom kinders sterf in Bloemhof as hulle vuil water drink, omdat daar nie 'n ingenieur is om te verseker dat daar suiwer drinkwater is nie. Dit is op u hande. Dit is u verantwoordelikheid om dit te sien laat dit gebeur. Terug na die basiese beteken dat as mense 'n diens wil hê, soos water en elektrisiteit, die basiese dienste, dat hulle daarvoor moet betaal. Maar dit gebeur nie. Ons weet dat die uitstaande dienstegelde tans al meer as 100 miljard rand is. In een munisipaliteit soos die Matlosana munisipaliteit in Noordwes, is die uitstaande dienstegelde alreeds meer as 1,5 miljard rand. Achtbare minister, As daardie dienstegelde betaal word, dan hoef daar basies vir 1 volle jaar geen begroting verder gevoer te word of verhoog te word nie, want daardie geld behels eintlik die totale begroting van die Matlosana munisipaliteit. So geen dienstegelde hoef eintlik dan betaal te word eers dan vir 'n volle jaar nie. Dit is die implikasie as u nie u dienstegelde indien. Terug na die basiese beteken dat u wil graag diens lewer aan die publiek, veral die belastingbetaler. Maar agbare minister, u sal u mense op 'n kursus moet gaan stuur. Want as jy 'n klagte het oor die munisipaliteit, by die amptenary, by die raadslede van veral die ANC, dan word daar net skouers opgetrek.
Dankie, agbare.
U moet doen wat u sê.
Dankie. Can we now call Honorable Masondo?
House Chairperson, Honorable Minister Des van Rooyen, Honorable Deputy Minister Andries Nel and Obed Bapela, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, members of the Portfolio Committee, Salga leadership, distinguished guests, members of the public. It has been stated that trade corridors tend to improve the investment environment of countries and that these are necessary to support the growth of industry and development. At the center of development is the notion of developmental local government. We view municipalities as critical role players in developing the economy of our land. This noble idea derives from the basic policy document of the ANC, the Freedom Charter. The idea of people sharing in the country's wealth, the idea of national wealth as heritage of all South Africans, industry and trade, assisting the well-being of the people, people trading where they choose, and the idea of manufacturing, entering all trades, craft, and professions. It may be useful to note that nobody stays at a place called international, continental, regional, national, or provincial. This does not mean that these spaces are irrelevant. All of us reside in a specific locality, in a municipality. In a South African context, it would be difficult to grasp the significance of this without a realization that a meaningful advance or development has to build on the foundations of the Republic of South Africa Constitution, Act 108 of 1996. Furthermore, we know that the publishing of the 1998 White Paper on Local Government further paved the way for the creation of a modern and advanced form of local government. What a milestone. Why modern? Because an examination of how local government has evolved reveals that there's been need for a clear set of developmental objectives. There was a need for an ongoing rationalization of municipalities. Before the year 2000, there were 843 municipalities in South Africa.
Honorable Masondo, just hold on a second.
Can I
Just
go?
take your seat. What's your point of order? No.
Sit.
What's your point of order?
Ne ke botsa gore ana Ntate Masondo a ka kgatlhegela go tsaya potso mo go nna.
Okay. Ntate Masondo, can you take a question?
No.
Thank you very much.
Wasting
Can
our
you
time.
take your seat?
It's very wasting our time.
Proceed, Ntate Masondo.
Before the year 2011 local government elections, there were 283 municipalities in place. As we move towards 3rd August 2016 local government elections, we have 257 municipalities. We also speak of modern local government because to advance, it is necessary to have policies and support structures. Now that these are in place, this has ensured that households in many districts and communities receive quality municipal services. These figures demonstrate this. Electricity in 2001 stood at 69.7%, in 2014 at 86%. Water in 2001 stood at 61.3%, and in 2015 at 90%. Refuse removal in 2001 at 51%, 2012 at 55%, 2015 at 64%. Chairperson, any reasonable person will not fail to notice that all of this progress could not have been possible without an ANC-led government. Why is this a great achievement? Let me state the obvious, because, Chairperson, common sense is not that common. A number of municipalities prior to and even after 1994 had little or no pre-existing institutional foundations. In fact, most of these local government structures by far were designed and meant to serve the needs of a white minority. Fact. The RSA Constitution on its part is forward-looking. It speaks of local government, which consists of local municipalities to be established for the whole territory of the Republic. It spells out the objects of local government as follows: to provide democratic and accountable government for local communities, to ensure provision of services to communities in a sustainable manner, to provide social and economic development, to promote a safe and healthy environment, to encourage involvement of the communities and community organizations in the matters of local government. The Constitution recognizes the fact that not everything can be achieved at one instant magical moment. This is why it says, quote, "A municipality must strive within its financial and administrative capacity to achieve the objects set out in subsection 1. Fact. In this country, in a democratic South Africa, we have an elected local government whose powers and functions are carefully crafted in section 156 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, Act 108 of 1996. Because, Chairperson, common sense is not that common. Let me put across the following point. In the Middle East, indeed in some countries on the African continent, local government is appointed by a sheikh. For those who don't know what a sheikh is the head of the Arab tribe in most of these Muslim countries. Or a minister of local government. By definition, the powers and responsibilities of these so-called local government structures are subject to the whims and fancies of the designated individuals. It is not an exaggeration, therefore, to say that South Africa is, in many respects, millions of kilometers ahead of many countries. Fact. In fact, Chairperson, as I've said before, the South African model of local government is the envy of the world. Fact.
Thank you on that spot.
This is not to say we have no problems or challenges.
Thank you.
Let us briefly talk about
Thank
the
you,
city of
Honorable
Johannesburg.
Masondo. The time is up.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
We support this vote, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Can we now call the Deputy Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, responsible for traditional affairs, Honorable K.O. Bapela.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me also save time and follow the Minister's greetings and protocols to all that he had observed and then acknowledged in his opening remarks. Fellow South Africans, as with any nation, South Africans will continue to have multiple identities based on class, gender, age, language, geographic location, religion, and so on. In a national democratic society, Such diversity should fit into an overarching national identity. In its own unique way, South Africa should emerge as a united African nation, adding to the diversity and identity of the continent and humanity at large. This is a quotation from the ANC Strategy and Tactics of 2007. I chose this quotation to illustrate the ANC commitments of building a nation, not just as an event, but as a process. As we present this budget vote 2016-2017, we are pleased to report as a department, as we promised in the last budget vote, that we will bring a legislative proposals to Parliament proposing the recognition of the Khoisan people and give a complete recognition and existence of all the 10 indigenous national groups that are part of the new nation called South Africa, embodying the settled communities from Europe, Asia into one common nationhood. We congratulate the city of Johannesburg and Ramallah for the unveiling of the Nelson Mandela statue in Palestine. This agreement of solidarity was signed last year in my presence representing Cocta between the two cities. We urge SALGA and individual municipalities to examine in the new administration all twinning agreements with a view of analyzing, strengthening, and assessing whether they are meeting the national objective of our national interest. This also that COCTA will fast track the implementation of the Tripartite Alliance agreement signed by President Jacob Zuma with Angola and the Democratic Republic of Congo, which is about assisting them in their process of decentralization of the powers from the center to the municipalities. They've chosen South Africa as a model. As Honorable Masonda had said, we are indeed a good model to the continent. Honorable members, coming to the budget, as already said, that we have delivered the promised legislative proposal recognizing the Khoisan, and also a major fundamental achievement around areas that we needed to strengthen the role and functions of the regional leaders. Parliament obviously is processing the matter, and we hope it will reach its finality. We also had promised to finalize the policy on initiations. Let me report that the Cabinet has adopted the policy and the legislative process have begun, and with the hope that by 2017, which is the following year, during the winter season, this will be a law. This will help us in criminalization of those people who are running illegal schools and in bringing dignity to the old age African cultural and traditional practice. We hope, therefore, that as we do so, supporting the traditional leadership institution, we will speak in one voice as South Africans about the future role of the traditional leaders in South Africa. One is, however, concerned that we hear voices that begins to reject the role played by the traditional leaders. The leader of the opposition party, Honorable Musi Maimane, during the debate of the SONA 2016 stated, and I quote, "It is a waste of money to be buying cars for traditional leaders. Instead, money should be delivered to support farmers," close quote. What is not being said by that opposition leader is that once the Constitution recognizes, which is chapter 12, the role and an institution, it must be given all the resources and support to execute their mandate, and as further elaborated in the legislation. The cars are not for luxury, but they are part of the tools of trade by traditional leaders to perform their functions as in the Constitution and in the law. Such statements by opposition parties demonstrate that only the ANC government can deliver the constitutional obligations as agreed 20 years ago when we adopted the Constitution. South Africa indeed is safe under the ANC government. As we debate budget vote of COCTA, we must also take note of the debate that took place in the National House of Traditional Leaders, representing the 829 traditional leaders and communities, including the Khoisan communities, when they resolved to call for a national dialogue on 4 major issues. I'm just going to give the topics themselves. 1, they have agreed to claim land and the heritage and ancestral sites taking advantage of the opening, which has started in June 2014, ending June 2019, and there will be enlisting one law firm to assist all of the 829 traditional communities and the quiescent communities for that. Secondly, they've rejected the Spatial Planning and Land Use Management Act and are lobbying the president and government to reverse the law so that we can then relook at the law once more. Thirdly, that the House has called for further engagement with Minerals Department on issues of mining and development with the view of strengthening the legislation to protect communities against the powerful mine houses. The fourth topic is for us to discuss the future role of traditional leaders, in particular, their functions and powers, which they say do not go far enough. So Honorable Klengwa, who has left the House now, please know that this matter is under discussion. We are indeed going to be engaging the traditional leaders around the Constitution and the Chapter 7, but also in the context of a South Africa that is industrializing, a South Africa that is rapidly urbanizing, and also within the democratic dispensation that we chose as a republic to then begin to redefine those particular roles and the powers. We are proud to report also during this budget vote that the 5 priorities of the strategic plan of the department have now been agreed and they are part of the annual performance plans, which are 1, the restoration of traditional leadership and the stabilization of the institution. 2, to ensure socio-economic development and sustainable communities as programs that are going to be run by traditional leaders and involving communities. 3, to involve traditional communities and leaders to participate in social cohesion and nation building. 4, to ensure that the traditional practices that are not in tandem with the Constitution are identified, debated, discussed, and then we're able then to amend quite a number of them. And lastly, that we need to promote and protect all African cultural values, tradition, and customary way of life. This is very important because we also are seeing developments where culture is under attack. The picture which was removed by Instagram of an Ndebele girl prouding herself during the Freedom Day about her culture is some of the issues we ought to discuss with the Department of Communication and Telecommunication to say, why is our culture under attack in the social space and social media? But also we welcome the SABC and the Minister of Communication, Ma'am Tambi here, to have agreed that language use on television is going to be extending, and she has called for a meeting with traditional leaders through the National House of Traditional Leaders and the department to come and talk about the content that is going to go into those particular programs. We are taking on that particular invitation and we will follow suit to come and meet with you as part of, indeed, protecting and promoting our African cultural values. These values are not only being practiced in rural communities or in traditional spaces. People are migrating to the cities, and now we're beginning to see people practicing in the cities. The initiation schools, for example, are now mushrooming in the city of Johannesburg and Igugulweni. Last year, we recorded 300 illegal schools in Johannesburg alone. And the city is not yet ready because they do not have the bylaws to then deal with the issue. So Africans have moved to the cities, they go with them, their cultural values. They are slaughtering, and the bylaws of the municipalities are against slaughter. And so those are the issues that we then begin to say, when we look at the African way of life, we then begin to say, where are the people? They are in the urban areas, they are in the communities, in rural areas, they are in the traditional communities. So culture is an embracing phenomena, and it ought to be respected and given space wherever the people are. On back to basics, we are engaging and talking with the traditional leaders, the 829 traditional councils, with the 11 kings and the national house and their provincial houses, and the 8,000 headmen and women, to ensure, therefore, that they play a role in contributing to the matters of local government and in the implementation of the Back to Basics. Obviously, we need to resolve, as the ministry and department, the funding model of the traditional councils, and also to ensure that the relationship between traditional leaders and the councils are firmed and improved. We also want to report here that one of the key programs is that of the restoration of the dignity of traditional leaders. The period of the commission has been extended again to deal with the backlog in Limpopo and then to finalize all other disputes that has not been resolved. The Commission on Religions has already engaged on various investigative, and they hope they will be bringing reports here on ritual killings, witchcraft, reuse of graves, which is a big issue in the municipalities, and the commercialization of the religion. And once the report comes, we hope therefore that we'll be able to deal with it. NICSA, which is the National Interfaith Council of South African Churches, is inter-council religion, is also a structure in the department that is also had approached the department to say they can also play a role in engaging communities on the moral regeneration matters, but also to assist in ensuring that there is a dialogue and an agreement between communities and us and everybody that when protest takes place, they do not become violent. Let's therefore support that particular initiative from NICSA. On concluding, I just want really to say the 2016 initiation season is upon us, and we're calling on provinces and municipalities to be ready, as we have already engaged you, and hoping therefore that the model this year will be far better and more collaborative and to reduce the deaths of initiates. I just want to thank and congratulate Bahamuchaji, royal family, and the Balobedi people in Limpopo for attaining a queenship. The process of legalizing that is underway. Also to thank all the people who had wished me well whilst I was in hospital. Your messages were received. And then thank you to the Department of COGTA, my wife and the children for the support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we now call Honorable BJ Malulek?
Modula Stulo, ke leboga nako eo mphilego yona. Ntumelle go tamiša ntlokgolo ye e hlomphegago ya theramolao go ya ka kgati. E ka ba bonyatši, ge nka se lotšhe ba ka difokeng, magoši a rena, re a lotša. Today we are here just some days from celebrating our 22nd years of democracy and freedom in our country. This democracy has ushered in a better life for all South Africans, black and white. Chairperson, 2016 marks 16 years of democratic local government. The year also coincides with the first anniversary of the implementation of the Back to Basics program. As we celebrate these 16 years of democratic local government, we pride ourselves that the ANC-led government has changed the lives of our communities for better. Chairperson, as we take stock of what the ANC-led government has achieved since 1994, we pride ourselves of the milestones achieved. South Africans, especially blacks, who for the first time in 1994 had to decide whom to govern them, they can tell a good story about the fruits of democracy. There is no doubt that we have succeeded and continue to make necessary inroads in improving the living condition of our people. Yes, much has been done to better their lives, but more still needs to be done. 22 years is not a short period, it's a short period in the life of a nation and a country. It is in this context that today, as we celebrate, we can count our achievements. We are proud. There is no doubt that under the ANC-led government, South Africa's life has changed for better than it was during the apartheid era. Chairperson, according to the survey conducted by the South African Institute of Race and Relations, it is recorded that the ANC-led government has managed to do the following. Number of families in a formal house has increased from 5.8 million in 1994 to 12.3 million It is about 1,000 families moving into a formal house every day since ANC came to power. Number of households with access to electricity has shot from 5.2 million to 14.1 million. Access to basic sanitation services has increased from 62.3% in 2002 to 79% in 2014. This government managed to double job opportunities from 7.9 million to 15.7 million people between 1994 and 1915. Musho owa ANC uashuma. Ay asimanga siyachuba. In an endeavor to meet the Millennium Development Goal, this department, working together with provinces and municipalities, has introduced the Back to Basics program with the aim of speeding up quality service delivery. Chairperson, allow me to highlight the following progress in some of the following municipalities. In the Eastern Cape province, the Ilundini local municipality, about 12,176 households will benefit from the water infrastructure program with a budget of 296 million, which was secured through the joint funding from the MIC Fund and the ORIO in the Netherlands. In KZN, the Greytown Bulk Water Project in Umzinyati District Municipality, the budget of 490 million has been approved for this project, which will supply water to 11,340 households when the project is completed by July 2016. The Nelson Mandela Bay Metro system were put in place, and to address the title deeds, this is a good move. There is an improvement in the municipality financial situation. The municipality has a high credit rating in the country. In Gauteng, Johannesburg Metro managed to successfully implement the bus rapid transit Rea Vaya system, working together with the taxi owners. In Ekurhuleni, just listen. In Ekurhuleni Metro, significant extension of roads infrastructure, including paving of gravel roads, grading of informal roads in informal settlements, were rolled out. In terms of striving for clean financial management, the eThekwini Metro has successfully moved from the unqualified audit outcomes to a clean audit report. Chairperson, significant strides have been made in improving roads and bridges, thus providing transport and access to services and economic development. Chairperson, the Back to Basic program is yielding good fruits, and we encourage the department to continue with this program. Honorable Chair, Chapter 12 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa enjoins this democratic government to recognize and support the institution of traditional leadership. It is in this context that the province like Mpumalanga, Limpopo managed to give our traditional leaders cars. This is to assist them to execute their responsibility. Chairperson, we cannot afford to municipalities to underspend their allocated budget like what is happening in the Western Cape. The March financial report shows that the city has spent less than half of its capital budget. It has taken the city more than 9 months to spend 45% of its capital budget. And to make matters worse, the city has admitted it cannot spend 550 million rand of the budget by the end of this financial year. This means that some of the communities must go another year without services or project. This practice will rob our communities service deliveries. Shame on you, DA. Thank you very much. As the ANC, we support this budget vote.
Thank you very much. Are we going to
Madam Speaker, the South African Local Government Association, the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency, as well as the Municipal Demarcation Board, collectively failed to attain the targets that they set out to achieve. Of the 567 million of SALCA's annual budget, 90% goes for operational purpose, while the rest derive from membership levies. In the present 2015-16 financial year, SALCA is forced to increase its membership fees by 6.3% given its high operational costs. Contemplating further financial constraints for 2016-17, as revealed by its annual performance plan, SALCA states that it will be revising membership levy formula in order to maximize the membership levy revenue stream. Madam Speaker, the NC-controlled municipalities will never attain resilient municipalities as envisaged by the Back to Basics program, because these municipalities and the metros are relatively yielding income, but unfortunately, the entire ANC bureaucrats and political masters have an insatiable thirst for money. They have put their lust for money above that of service delivery. Worse still, the 2016 budget points to a gloomy picture as it warns of the local government sector will be facing tough fiscal choices in the period ahead as growth in transfers slows and the cost of providing services will increase. The Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency is also punctuated by a series of financial mismanagements. Its recent audit report for the year ended March 2015 revealed that there were material irregular expenditure amounting to 73.2 million, unauthorized expenditure amounting to 6.6 million, and fruitless as well as wasteful expenditure amounting to 115.
Ntate Mazipe.
I just want to
Zoe,
check with you whether you are Madam Speaker or the chairperson.
No, I'm not. I'm not. We have heard that, and we did not have a problem for him to proceed.
Mr. Speaker, the 2015 financial reports states that the persisting problems in the local government sector are the result of shortcomings in performance based on incapacity and inadequate financial human resources management. Of course, these problems will persist for as long as the ANC's recruitment policy is whether or not one is ANC card-carrying member, as in contrast to a DA's clear-cut policy on recruitment, which is fit for purpose. Both the Auditor General and the Audit Committee were not satisfied with the control exercise in respect of the administration of predetermined objectives at MISA and recommended that more had to be done to improve reporting and accountability responsibilities in this area. The entity unsurprisingly paid bonuses amounting to 779.6 rand in spite of the recurring performance problems. For some time now, the Municipal Demarcation Board has been targeting achieving a clean audit, but it keeps falling short of this target, and it also fails to pay suppliers within stipulated 30 days period. If you want to address the question, whose interest is the board serving? Go to the Northwest Province and see how it absorbs Motsweding District Municipality and Inkukwini, as well as Nukenja Taamane local municipalities into Tshwane Metropolitan Municipality. This is a clear indication that the board is bent on entrenching the ANC's majority in that area. The board did not end there. It went on to approve the merger of the Democratic DA-run Midval municipality and the Enfulweni ANC-run municipalities. It became clear to the DA that the board was both a player and a referee in this scenario. For the DA, the writing was already on the wall because, namely, that the board was bent on removing its power by dissolving its only controlled municipality, Gauteng, ahead of 2016 local government elections.
Re a o leboga, Ntate Matsepe. Thank you. Bjale ke bitša mohlompegi Ntate Mapulane gore a re tshware ka lefoko.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable members, Honorable Minister and Deputy Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, comrades. Perhaps, Chair, I should start by borrowing from a quotation of William Shakespeare to summarize the input and the rankings of Honorable Milam when he says, "It was like a tale told by an idiot, full of sounds and fury, but signifying nothing." Honorable Chair, our vision of a system of local government remains that which is articulated in the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa and in the 1998 White Paper on Local Government. As the ANC, we continue to seek to build a developmental local government that places the people at the center of its quest to seek sustainable ways to meet their social and economic needs and improve the quality of their lives. Indeed, local government under the ANC has not only come a long way since the articulation of this overarching policy perspective, but has had profound impact on the lives of ordinary South Africans through expanding the provision of services to millions of our people. The ANC is making a steady but consistent progress in improving the lives of our people for the better. The annual study by Statistics South Africa on non-financial census of municipality empirically validates the above hypothesis. I'm not going to mention some of the salient points as my colleagues have already done so, the minister and the chairperson of the committee. As a movement of the people, we will continue to articulate a simple but very profound message to our people about the good story of the 22 years of democracy and 15 years of democratic local government. This message, which is supported by the empirical evidence from Statistics South Africa, reverberates across the length and breadth of our country and carries with it the hope of our people. Our strategy and tactics document teaches us that a revolutionary must always assess the objective and subjective factors which could either propel the rapid advance of the revolution forward or impede its progress. As a revolutionary movement, we are alive to the possibilities and impediments that exist within the current domestic and international socio-economic environment in our quest to better the lives of our people. The Johnny come lays to the political scene, dressed in red berets and overalls, acting like Father Christmas, bringing goodies to the South African people, have arrived in town. True to their magician character.
Chairperson. Chairperson.
Yeah, just hold on. Order, Honorable Mahluk.
You must sit down.
Order, Honorable Mahluk. Rapulan, just take your seat. What's the point of order?
Mr. Cash, are you able to take a question from me?
Honorable Mapulana.
Well, I don't account to demagogues. Therefore, I'm not going to take that question. They have arrived in town. True to their magician character, they've brought along and are promising everything and anything under the sun, from free water to electricity, to free higher education for all, to building of recording studios by municipalities for the artists to perform for free, to building factories and renting them out for free, to providing Wi-Fi by every municipality for free, to increasing the salary of public servants by 50%. The list of freebies goes on and on and on. All pie in the sky. Our people will certainly see through this demagogy. Honorable Chairperson, at the core of the ideological character and orientation of the DA is the concept they so passionately espouses, called an open opportunity society. The fundamental proposition of this ideology is that all within the society are equal and must compete on an equal footing, irrespective of the brutality of the South African historical realities that continues to impact on our current national life. According to this theoretical proposition, a child born in a village in Sekhukhune in Limpopo must compete on an equal space with the one born in Camps Bay and Sandton. In terms of this ideological narrative, the centuries and decades of colonialism and apartheid in our country that led to the subjugation and dispossession of the African masses in general and black people in particular doesn't matter at all. What matters is the entrenchment and continued perpetuation of apartheid legacy of inequality, poverty, and patriarchy. That is why, Chairperson, the Democratic Alliance has got more white males on their benches here in Parliament, despite the majority of their members and voters being black. These DA benches reflect the historical and patriarchal legacy of accessing opportunities in our society. Not to mention, Chairperson, the ideological incoherence on key redress policy questions like BEE and affirmative action by one Herman Mashaba, the same DA mayoral candidate for Johannesburg, who was missing in action at the launch of their manifesto in Joburg because he could not resist the temptation to take another swimming deep in the exquisite beaches of China. But most bizarre, Chairperson, and scandalous discovery is the existence of a secret and sexist society inside the DA called Freemasons, which is modeled along the same lines as apartheid Broederbond, and whose members receive preferential
Order.
treatment.
Can you allow Mr. Honorable Mapulane to continue? Proceed.
Lex Middelbeck, your DA councillor in Tshwane, alleges that members of this secret society and their girlfriends are promoted on the list of candidates ahead of non-members. So much for the open opportunity society. What a hypocrite. Honorable Chairperson, the Democratic ANC government is committed to the restoration of the dignity of the Khoi and the San communities, who are part of the indigenous people of this country and whose humanity and dignity pride was stripped by centuries and decades of slavery, colonialism, and apartheid. The Khoi and the San were dispossessed of their land, autonomy, and independence, and their culture, languages, socio-economic systems were destroyed by the colonialists. We will, in the foreseeable future, Chairperson, as Parliament, visit various provinces to engage our people and solicit their comment on the draft bill that the Minister has already referred to. We have already engaged the leadership and some of the stakeholders. In conclusion, a prolific African writer, an intellectual and revolutionary from Guinea-Bissau, Amika Cabral, teaches us, and I quote, that always bear in mind that the people are not fighting for ideas, for things in anyone's head. They are fighting to win material benefits, to live better and in peace, to see their lives go forward, to guarantee the future of their children.
Thank you on that note.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you on that note. I now call the Honorable the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs to conclude the debate.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Let me take this opportunity also to pass a word of gratitude to all participants, albeit some of the submissions lack substance. I must indicate, Chair, that as correctly cited by the portfolio chairperson, Datem Takani, indeed our country, South Africa, is a better place, far better than it was before 1994. And let's also indicate that this is not just a fact acknowledged by ourselves, but this is a fact acknowledged by reputable international research institutions. The list is endless. Now, I'm not sure what is it going to take members of the DA to really accept this fact. You can't run away from this fact. Now, I must also indicate that as we accept this good performance, an excellent performance, we must also acknowledge that there are still areas that need some improvement. And definitely, as we move forward to address these areas, it will be important that we accommodate all role players. And really, let's acknowledge that it's a say in the landlord, because the reality of the matter is that it took more than 3 centuries and more than 3 decades of apartheid system and colonialization, for us to be where we are. So definitely, it's not going to take any grandstanding or maybe populist approach to resolve the challenges of development facing our country. Hence, we are urging all to come to the party. House Chair, allow me also to demystify certain myths around back to basic approach, which all of a sudden some of the people want to make it an individual or one-person show. But also some of the people, quite interestingly, are also now claiming its origin. The back to basic approach is a cabinet-approved approach, a collective of cabinet under the capable leadership of His Excellency, President Jacob Zuma. This was approved in 2014, and is a very collaborative approach. It's not a one-man show. You will continue to hear of this approach because it brings together all the earlier approaches that you have heard of, but because it's working. We are not going to abandon this approach because it's a working approach. It's a collaborative approach, accommodating all stakeholders. And once more, I will urge you, if you are patriotic enough, to take advantage of the provisions of this approach. Now, let's make a reflection on the allegation or the claim about the clean audit. Clean audit is a welcome development, and we all appreciate it. And let's also indicate that it will be highly appreciated if those clean audits that are being referred to can translate or equate to fair and equitable distribution of services to our communities. Because as people sing praise of the clean audits that they are receiving, we see a different story on the ground. We see our people in Khayelitsha, we see our people in Langa, we see our people in Gugulethu having it tough, while the city of Cape Town is touted out as the best performing city. Now we are saying clean audits are welcome, but let that translate to equitable distribution of resources. Let clean audit not be guided by race. Let clean audit not be guided by the location of the individuals. Let clean audit assist us to address the disparities and the inequalities of apartheid. You know, my honorable member, young as you are, honorable member Milam, I think you got a very lot of positive energy, which is highly, highly misguided. You are hurling insult against the ANC instead of engaging in the debate, the real debate. And I show your approach is a clear indication that DA is bereft of any substance. But I must warn you, we shall meet in the street, at the polls, where our people will vote the ANC in their majority. Let's remind our honorable members, you tend to forget very, very quickly, amnesia victims, about our intervention in Nelson Mandela. Our intervention in Nelson Mandela was guided by Section 154 of our Constitution. Now, I must tell you now, under the capable leadership of Johan Medler, our team is sitting in Nelson Mandela and things are turning around. And among
Allow the
other things,
Minister to
we are
respond,
also entertaining issues of institutional capacity, because our own team have made those assessments and made some establishment. Now rest assured, things are turning around in Nelson Mandela under the capable leadership of Executive Mayor Danny Jordan. Let me take this opportunity also to reiterate that as demarcation boards, amalgamate municipalities, they are only guided. It's not the ANC, it's the demarcation board, an independent institution. They are guided by financial viability of this municipality, but also they are guided by the capacity of municipality to deliver services to our people. So it's not an ANC exercise, it's a demarcation board exercise. Get your facts right. And lastly, I must take this opportunity, Honorable Chairperson, to call for political stability. You know, Chair, one of the success stories to come out of our democratic system is political stability. Now, as we go towards local government elections, I want to urge all, including those who are calling for the barrel of the gun. I hope they know what we mean by barrel of a gun. Please, let's ensure that we urge our members to stay calm. We urge our members to respect the success of democracy. Any engagement in acts of violence, intimidation, and incitement is undermining our democracy. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's thank the ministry led by the minister for having led this debate. Let's thank the portfolio committee led by the chair for having participated and support the budget vote. All honorable members that are in here who have stayed in this budget vote. And let's thank all our guests as well that have been with us right through the budget vote. Members are reminded that the debate on tourism budget vote will take place at 14 hours in the National Assembly chamber. And the debate on correctional services budget vote will take place at 1400 in the old Assembly chamber. That concludes the debate and the business of this extended public committee. The committee will now rise.